Tonight, we step beyond the veil into the Immortal Coven, a shadowed sisterhood of witches who walk beside vampires, not as prey, but as equals. Bound by blood pacts, ancient spells, and eternal night, these witches defy death itself. They weave magic through veins of undead kings, guard forbidden thrones, and rewrite the balance between life and darkness. From moonlit rituals to crimson alliances, their story is one of power, sacrifice, and unbreakable loyalty. Stay with us as we unveil the secrets, myths, and terrifying truths of the witches who chose immortality. Tonight, legend awakens and darkness listens closely here. Vampire allies. In the shadowed corridors of fantasy and Gothic lore, vampires are often depicted as solitary predators, ruling their domains through fear, strength, and cunning. Yet, across centuries of storytelling, from European folklore to modern fantasy, vampires rarely operate entirely alone. The concept of vampire allies emerges as a fascinating dynamic. Partnerships forged not by blood alone, but by shared purpose, mutual benefit, or ancient pacts. These alliances reveal the depth of vampire society, their adaptability, and the strategic intellect that often surpasses mere brute force. Understanding vampire allies requires examining their origins, types, and functions in both supernatural hierarchy and narrative storytelling. Origins of vampire alliances. The idea of a vampire forming allies can be traced back to medieval European myths, where vampires were considered both feared predators and potent symbols of influence. Alliances often took one of three forms: familial or coven bonds. Some traditions depicted vampires not as solitary individuals, but as part of familial networks. In Slavic folklore, elder vampires sometimes guided younger progeny, forming alliances through bloodlines. These bonds were less about emotional connection and more about strategic survival. A group of related vampires could control territory, defend against hunters, and consolidate magical power. Pacts with humans or supernatural beings. Vampires have long been imagined as manipulators of mortal society. Legends speak of vampire lords securing alliances with human nobility, scholars, or mercenaries, trading protection and power for loyalty or service. In modern fantasy, these pacts often extend to witches, shapeshifters, or even spirits, highlighting the vampire's ability to negotiate alliances beyond their species. Mutual threat alliances. Sometimes, vampires join forces not for ambition but survival. Rival vampire clans, demon hunters, or encroaching supernatural forces necessitate cooperation. These alliances, though sometimes temporary, underscore the vampire's pragmatic intelligence. They show that the ancient predators understand when partnership outweighs pride. Types of vampire allies. Vampire allies manifest in diverse forms, each serving a unique function in both the vampire's life and their narrative world. These allies can be divided broadly into three categories: human allies, supernatural allies, and vampire-to-vampire alliances. 1. Human allies. Humans have historically been the most common allies of vampires in fiction. Though mortal, they bring strategic value, knowledge, influence, and often unsuspecting access to the vampire's prey. Servants and familiars. In Gothic tradition, vampires often employ humans as devoted servants or familiars. These individuals may be drawn by fear, seduction, or supernatural binding. Familiars often provide intelligence, maintain the vampire's estate, and even execute delicate schemes. In modern stories, familiars can be trained assassins, spies, or magicians whose loyalty stems from a mixture of awe and enchantment. Political or social allies. Some vampires integrate themselves into human hierarchies to gain leverage. A vampire might ally with influential nobles, corrupt officials, or mercantile leaders to protect territories, monopolize resources, or influence local power structures. These alliances emphasize the vampire's shrewd manipulation of social networks. Romantic or emotional allies. Occasionally, vampires develop allies through emotional bonds. Lovers or confidants may provide moral support, companionship, and even protection. These alliances humanize the vampire, revealing vulnerability and the complex interplay between desire and pragmatism. 2. Supernatural allies. Beyond humans, vampires often form alliances with other supernatural beings. These relationships are fraught with risk, but offer unmatched advantages. Witches and sorcerers. Vampires frequently align with witches, benefiting from magical protection, offensive spells, or arcane intelligence. In return, witches may gain access to the vampire's longevity, knowledge of forbidden lore, or enforcement of their magical will. Such alliances often involve complex negotiations and rituals, reflecting the mutual respect for power that transcends species boundaries. Shapeshifters and werewolves. While classic lore often casts vampires and werewolves as eternal enemies, some narratives explore temporary alliances in the face of a greater threat. Shapeshifters may provide reconnaissance, brute force, or territorial knowledge. These partnerships are often tenuous, emphasizing a fragile trust maintained by necessity rather than loyalty. Spirits and otherworldly entities. In certain stories, vampires forge alliances with spirits, demons, or celestial entities. These allies provide intelligence, mystical influence, or assistance in rituals. Such connections underscore the vampire's strategic cunning and willingness to navigate esoteric realms. 3. Vampire-to-vampire alliances. Alliances within vampire society itself are perhaps the most complex and politically charged. Clans and houses. Vampires often operate within hierarchical structures, forming familial or clan alliances. These alliances stabilize territories, consolidate wealth, and provide protection from rival factions. Clans are guided by ancient codes, with loyalty enforced through fear, respect, or shared interest. Betrayal is common, but survival often hinges on these cooperative structures. Mentor-protege relationships. A more intimate form of alliance occurs between elder vampires and their progeny. The elder imparts knowledge of combat, manipulation, and arcane practices, while the younger provides loyalty, assistance, and occasionally, a fresh perspective. Such bonds are mutually beneficial and often cemented through shared experiences in life and on death. Temporary coalitions. Even among vampires, temporary alliances form for expedient purposes, raiding rival territories, defeating supernatural hunters, or achieving political goals. These coalitions are fragile, maintained only as long as mutual interests align, and often dissolve in betrayal or conquest. Functions of vampire allies. The presence of allies profoundly enhances a vampire's power, effectiveness, and survival. These relationships are not mere storytelling devices, but reflect deep strategic principles. Strategic extension of influence. Allies allow vampires to extend their reach beyond what a single immortal could achieve. A human ally can infiltrate societies the vampire cannot access. A supernatural ally can fight battles that require strength or abilities beyond the vampire's own. Alliances amplify the vampire's effectiveness in both offensive and defensive contexts. Political and social leverage. Allies provide a network of influence. Through humans, vampires gain information, protection, and legitimacy in mortal society. Through other supernatural entities, they navigate complex, mystical politics. This underscores the vampire's ability to manipulate, negotiate, and strategize far beyond the battlefield. Protection and survival. Immortality does not guarantee invulnerability. Vampire allies provide defense against hunters, rival vampires, and magical threats. Allies may act as scouts, bodyguards, or enforcers, reducing the risk that comes with centuries of living in perilous secrecy. Emotional and psychological support. While vampires are often portrayed as cold and predatory, allies provide companionship, guidance, and sometimes moral grounding. Emotional bonds can shape a vampire's decisions, leading to alliances that are as personal as they are strategic. These dynamics enrich narrative complexity, giving vampires depth beyond their hunger. Access to knowledge and resources. Allies often serve as gateways to knowledge and resources unavailable to the vampire alone. Witches provide magical insight. Human allies may hold documents or secrets. Other supernatural beings may offer ancient wisdom. These relationships allow vampires to accrue power indirectly, demonstrating foresight and intellect. Narrative significance of vampire allies. In literature, film, and gaming, vampire allies serve multiple narrative purposes. Conflict creation. Alliances introduce tension and drama. Fragile loyalties can fracture, creating betrayal arcs, political intrigue, or strategic maneuvering. Readers are drawn to the complex social webs vampires inhabit. World building and social hierarchies. Vampire allies expand the universe around the vampire. They illustrate hierarchies, cultural norms, and the interplay between species. By exploring alliances, authors convey the depth and sophistication of vampire society. Character development. Allies reveal aspects of a vampire's personality: strategic intelligence, moral flexibility, loyalty, or ruthlessness. A vampire who forms meaningful alliances is often portrayed as cunning and patient, rather than impulsive or purely predatory. Moral and ethical exploration. The relationships between vampires and their allies often reflect ethical dilemmas. Using humans as tools, negotiating with supernatural beings, or manipulating progeny presents moral questions. These dynamics humanize vampires, blurring the line between predator and political strategist. Famous archetypes of vampire allies in fiction. The human confidant, often a mortal who understands the vampire's true nature and becomes indispensable. Examples include Renfield-like servants or scholarly allies who assist in occult research. The magical partner, witches or sorcerers who complement the vampire's power with arcane abilities. These partnerships emphasize mutual respect for each other's strengths. The rival-turned-temporary ally, a vampire who sets aside enmity to confront a common threat. This archetype highlights pragmatism and strategic thinking. The progeny alliance, the bond between elder and younger vampires, emphasizing mentorship, loyalty, and generational continuity. The supernatural coalition, vampires allied with shapeshifters, spirits, or demons. These relationships are tense but allow exploration of cross-species politics and mysticism. Risks and challenges of vampire allies. Alliances are never without danger. For vampires, trust is a rare commodity, and every relationship carries risk. Betrayal. Allies may act in self-interest, posing a threat to the vampire's goals. Human allies may betray for survival or greed. Supernatural allies may pursue their own agendas. Even vampire allies may turn against each other for power. Dependency. Over-reliance on allies can weaken a vampire's independence. If an ally is lost, the vampire may become vulnerable. Moral corruption. Maintaining alliances may require morally ambiguous decisions, such as manipulation, coercion, or exploitation. These choices can shape the vampire's character in complex ways. Conflict of interests. Allies with differing priorities can create tension. Balancing these interests requires negotiation, patience, and often cunning diplomacy. Vampire allies illuminate the intricate dance of power, strategy, and trust in the shadowed world of the undead. They reveal that vampires are not merely predators of flesh and blood, but political, emotional, and mystical strategists capable of forming deep, if sometimes fragile, bonds. From human confidants to supernatural partners, these alliances provide protection, influence, and insight, shaping both the vampire's survival and their narrative journey. Ultimately, vampire allies are more than companions. They are extensions of the vampire's mind and will, a testament to the adaptability and enduring intellect of creatures who thrive in darkness. Whether serving, aiding, or challenging the vampire, allies enrich stories, heighten drama, and offer a glimpse into a world where loyalty is rare, power is paramount, and even the undead cannot survive alone. Origins of the Coven Vampires. In the shadowed annals of history, where folklore and whispered secrets intertwine, the Coven Vampires emerge not as a mere legend, but as a consequence of a cosmic convergence of blood, magic, and betrayal. Unlike the common vampires who haunt villages or court aristocrats, the Coven Vampires are bound to covens of witches, a union of sorcery and immortality that reshape the fate of the nocturnal world. Their origin is steeped in mysticism, dark pacts, and the thirst for eternal knowledge, elements that together forged a lineage unlike any other. The time before the Coven. Long before the first Coven vampire drew breath, the world was divided between the forces of mortal life and the unseen currents of magic. Humans feared witches, not merely for their knowledge, but for their connection to the unseen realms. Witches wielded spells that could alter fate, summon storms, or pierce the veil between worlds. Vampires, by contrast, were solitary predators, cursed by darkness, born of tragic deaths or arcane misfortunes. The two lineages existed separately, each suspicious of the other, their histories punctuated by myth and blood. The first step toward the creation of the Coven vampires began in an era when witches themselves were threatened. As kingdoms grew ambitious, witch hunts became widespread. Entire covens vanished overnight, leaving nothing but charred ruins and whispers of vengeance. It was in this time of fear and desperation that the seeds of a dangerous alliance were sown. The Witch of the Blood Moon. Central to the origin of the Coven vampires is the tale of Seraphine Valdara, a witch of unmatched power. She was the last of her line in the northern reaches, where winters were harsh and darkness reigned for half the year. Her magic was drawn not from herbs or the stars alone, but from the blood that connected all living things. Seraphine foresaw the extinction of witches if they continued to fight mortals alone. She sought immortality, not for vanity, but for survival and vengeance. It was during a rare celestial alignment known as the Blood Moon eclipse that Seraphine's destiny converged with the first of the vampires. According to legend, a wandering vampire named Kael'thar, a creature born from the grief of lost love and the rage of betrayal, arrived in Seraphine's domain. He was feared, known to kill without warning, yet bound by an unquenchable thirst for the supernatural. Seraphine, understanding that neither magic nor fawn alone could survive the coming human onslaught, approached Kael'thar with a proposition: the pact of blood and shadow. The pact they forged was both literal and metaphysical. Under the blood-red light of the eclipse, Seraphine and Kael'thar merged their essences. Kael'thar's immortality and vampiric strength fused with Seraphine's magic and foresight, creating a new being, neither fully witch nor purely vampire, but something entirely new, the progenitor of the Coven vampires. This act was more than ritual. It was an alchemical transformation of body, blood, and soul. From this union came the first rule of the Coven vampires. They could only exist in symbiosis with witches. A vampire alone was powerful but mortal in spirit. A witch alone wielded magic but remained vulnerable to mortality. Together, they formed a bond that transcended both death and time. This covenant became codified as the Blood Accord, an unbreakable law binding witches and vampires who sought the covenant path. The birth of the first coven. With Seraphine and Kael'thar as the alpha pair, the first coven took shape. They recruited witches who were either willing or desperate, offering them a choice: join and gain immortality at the cost of their humanity, or remain mortal and die under human persecution. Those who accepted underwent a ritual of transformation. Blood from the vampire alpha mixed with the magical essence of the witch, creating hybrid beings capable of walking in daylight with limitations and of harnessing supernatural abilities that neither species possessed alone. The coven structure was hierarchical but communal. Seraphine, as the first witch vampire, became the matron of the coven, while Kael'thar led as the patriarch. Each new member was bound by the blood accord, their bloodline permanently intertwined with both witchcraft and vampirism. Importantly, the coven was not just a group, but a living organism, its members linked through magic and blood, sharing knowledge, power, and even the ability to sense danger through a psychic connection. Magic and blood, the unique nature of coven vampires. The coven vampires diverged from traditional vampires in crucial ways, primarily through the integration of witchcraft into their very being. Unlike ordinary vampires who relied on physical blood alone, coven vampires could manipulate the life force within blood itself. They could enchant it, use it to cast spells, and even create magical wards. their senses were heightened, allowing them to see the threads of magic and life in ways that neither normal humans nor witches could perceive. Moreover, the coven maintained strict control over its feeding. While typical vampires hunted indiscriminately, coven vampires fed in ritualized manners that preserved life when never possible. This symbiosis with witches allowed them to draw not only sustenance, but also arcane energy from those who willingly shared their essence. This ethical and magical framework ensured that the coven could thrive without attracting the same mortal wrath that drove ordinary vampires to isolation. The expansion of coven territories. Over centuries, the coven vampires spread across hidden enclaves in forests, mountains, and abandoned castles. They were no longer solitary predators. They became guardians of magical knowledge. Coven members often acted as secret advisors to rulers, silently influencing human history while maintaining their secrecy. Some covens were small, a few dozen members, while others grew vast, numbering in the hundreds. Each coven adapted its practices to local conditions, integrating local witchcraft traditions, yet always preserving the core blood accord. Conflicts inevitably arose, both internal and external. Some witches sought more control over their vampire counterparts, while certain vampires desired independence from coven rules. These tensions were usually resolved through ritual combat, magical duels, or, in extreme cases, exile. The coven system proved resilient because it was designed not merely for survival, but for preservation of collective memory and knowledge. Each vampire and witch carried centuries of secrets, creating a lineage that became both feared and revered. The role of human perception. Human perception played a crucial role in shaping the mythos of the coven vampires. To ordinary humans, they were indistinguishable from legends, ghosts, demons, or angels of death. Witch hunters who stumbled upon their hidden enclaves were often found dead, vanished, or inexplicably spared after encounters that defied explanation. Over time, folklore became protective armor. Rumors of vampire witch alliances discouraged inquisitive minds from searching too deeply. Humans unwittingly aided the covens by spreading tales of fear, which kept the curious at bay. Additionally, coven vampires learned to manipulate human belief, using illusion and suggestion to obscure their existence. Some even infiltrated human societies, posing as nobles, scholars, or mystics, ensuring the coven's survival and subtly guiding human affairs. Their influence, though hidden, was significant, giving them the ability to affect wars, economies, and even mystical research, all while remaining a phantom presence in history. The dark consequences. The origins of the coven vampires were not without peril. Blood magic, when combined with vampirism, carried inherent risks. Over generations, some members became unstable, consumed by insatiable hunger or corrupted by their own magical power. Such individuals were often exiled or bound in eternal slumber, hidden from both coven and human eyes. Legends tell of entire covens falling to internal strife, their members lost to madness or betrayal, leaving behind cursed ruins as warnings to those who would seek similar power. The most dangerous consequence, however, was the creation of hybrids beyond the coven's control. When the blood accord was broken, the result could be monstrosities, neither fully witch nor vampire, often violent and uncontrollable. These rogue hybrids became the stuff of nightmares, roaming the world as agents of chaos, reminding the coven that their power was a double-edged sword. The coven vampires in the modern age. As centuries passed, the coven vampires adapted to changing eras. In the modern world, they remain hidden, blending into human society while continuing ancient traditions in secret enclaves. They preserve the old magical texts, artifacts, and rituals, passing them from one generation to the next. Their influence on global events remains subtle but potent, protecting mystical knowledge from human destruction, ensuring that the balance between magic and mortality is maintained. Today, coven vampires are regarded by occult scholars as rare and enigmatic entities. Their existence is confirmed only by those who have either encountered them or inherited fragments of their knowledge through coven teachings. Despite centuries of evolution, They remain true to the principles established by Seraphine Valdara and Kael'thar: unity, survival, and the pursuit of mystical enlightenment through blood and magic. Legacy of the Blood Accord. The origins of the Coven vampires reveal a complex tapestry of ambition, survival, and mysticism. They are the living testament to a pact forged under the blood moon, a fusion of witchcraft and vampirism that created an entirely new path of immortality. Unlike ordinary vampires, their existence is bound to covens, magic, and collective purpose. The Coven vampires are more than predators. They are custodians of knowledge, arbiters of magical balance, and heirs to an ancient bloodline that defies mortality. Their story underscores a profound truth. Power alone is fragile, but power combined with wisdom, unity, and ritual can endure across centuries. The Coven vampires are not merely creatures of night. They are the living embodiment of an alliance that reshaped destiny itself. As the shadows close and the candles burn low, the tale of the Immortal Coven lingers in the dark. These witches did not fear the vampire's curse. They embraced it, shaping eternity with spell and blood. Their footsteps still echo through forgotten keeps and moonlit graves, unseen yet ever watching. If their story stirred your curiosity, remember that many secrets remain buried in the night. Like, subscribe, and join us again as we uncover more forbidden lore where magic and immortality entwine. Until then, walk carefully. Some covens never truly sleep, and darkness always remembers.